Welcome everyone. Another lesson today from the Taiji classics. This is from the Taiji Chuan Treatise attributed to Wang Chung-yueh. It's a very simple one, very short, one that has a lot of application for you for your solo form, meditation, pushing hands, really everything. And it's really simple to memorize and really a lot of benefits you're going to see. So it simply says, stand like a balanced scale. So if we think about a scale, like the old-fashioned scale of justice, or if you've ever seen a Chinese scale when they measure out herbs, you have three basic parts. So for the Chinese scale, you actually have a string, using gravity, using the plumb line, and then it's got a long horizontal wooden portion with a pan on one end, and then a weight with different markings or measurements. And so say if you wanted 5 ounces of whatever herb, you would find the 5-ounce position, and then you put on the herb until it balanced. The more popular one that you see, like in the scales of justice, is usually a vertical bar with a stand, and then a horizontal arm, and then chains or whatever holding two pans. And basically you'd put, again, a 10-ounce weight or 5-ounce weight here, and then you'd put whatever you were trying to weigh out on the other pan, and then it would balance. And so, we're going to use three parts. We're going to use that vertical part, horizontal part, and the two pans. This is really going to give you lots to apply into your solo form immediately. Going to help with your balance. And it'll lead to another classic that I'm going to do next about taking steps like a cat. So once you master this balance and alignment, it'll immediately transfer over into your stepping and movement. You're really going to love this one. So let's take a look at that vertical plumb line aspect of a scale. That has to do with gravity. A lot of times, like say different styles and teachers, they're going to use a word or two words to really get your attention, and that is, they're either going to call something a secret or they're going to call something a treasure. So one of the three treasures of balance are your head, your pelvis, and the foot you're standing on. You basically want to line those up. You want to stack those. So for instance, if you were stacking 3 boxes, if you basically stack one on top of the other and you stack them correctly, they'll stay up, they'll stay in balance. And if you stack them incorrectly, or one of the boxes is structurally not sound, gradually it'll fall. And you would expect this in your garage. If you didn't stack it right, you'd go, oh, I gotta rearrange that. And you wouldn't expect magic to keep that up. Well, that's the same thing in Taiji when you do the form. Sometimes people will say, oh, I just have bad balance. So I just like to counter that with, well, maybe you just have bad stacking. You haven't stacked your body the correct way. So one idea is head over hips, and then head and hips over your foot. That's that vertical line. You'll see lots of other classics. We'll talk about, suspend the head and tuck the hips, and when everything is all plumb. It's to get you lined up in gravity. We only need to be balanced when we're in transition, or we're stepping, or we're kicking, or we have a single leg stance. So for instance, if I'm standing like this, it's easy to have head over hips, and then gravity's going down into my 2 legs, and I can hang out there. When I want to take a step, I need to make sure that I've got my center, my head over my hips centered over my foot. That's why you see a lot of times toeing out. You'll toe out, And then what you're trying to do is get your head and your hips over that foot, get that center line, center of balance there, so that you can then take your step. Or you'll see sometime you'll toe out, get everything lined up so that you can do a kick. So you can see there's the center line. I'm going to give you a visual. I'll give you a visual for this these boxes and the stacking. So here's an idea. Here's 3 boxes. So, there's one on the ground, and then another one, another one. So basically the one on the ground is like the foot that you're balancing over. The middle one is your pelvis, and the top one is your head. If this were to lean or go in some direction, you would expect the stack to fall. Well, I can do this too. I can take this box and put it like that, and then it's going to balance. No big deal. You can see it's like a letter T. If I were to put the box like this, you can see it doesn't want to stay there. Well, this is your pelvis. If you don't get your pelvis completely over this foot, of course you can stand there, but you're gonna have to use lots of tension. Whereas if I can toe out and get my pelvis completely over my foot and my head completely over my pelvis, then I can do all kinds of things that, stepping, kicking, all the kind of things that I need the balance for. So if you think about the 3 treasures as 3 boxes, it's really simple. Another thing you can think about, like pushing hands. Pushing hands, somebody's trying to push my boxes so that the stack falls over. And my neutralizing and coming back, rebounding, is me trying to keep restacking the boxes so they don't fall over. I mean, that's just a simple example. So that's my vertical part of the scale, whether it's a string, holding the crossbar, or it is the stand supporting the crossbar. That's the part you want. Head over hips, head and hips over foot. When you're doing all your single-legged stances, when you're going to do your kicks, or when you're going to take a step. When you want to take a step, you got to have that alignment, and then, then that's the vertical alignment. Now, if we look at the pans, we look at the horizontal bar and the pans, whether it's 2 pans of the Western scale or a pan and a weight of the Eastern scale, it's the same idea. If I put 10 ounces in this pan and 2 ounces in this pan, it's gonna tilt. If I put 10 ounces here and I put 9 ounces here or 11 ounces here, it's gonna be pretty close. When I am gonna take a step or kick or do anything that I'm single leg in the solo form, I need to have a counterbalance to what that action is. If I'm gonna I've got my center line and I'm gonna put a foot to the side of the center line, it's very natural for gravity to want to push down on that. But if I simply go foot and hand back, it's going to get really simple. You're going to see this hand's on that pan, this foot's in that pan, and then there's the invisible line. And you can hear in my voice, I'm not holding my breath, I'm not tightening up, it's just simply using the structure. So here's an idea. If I'm going to step forward before I take my step, before I put my foot in that forward pan, I have to think about what's going to go in the backward pan. And that's what you see with a lot of the circling, the arm movements in the solo form. So here's a perfect example. Brush knee. Now brush knee is a push forward. There really is no reason for me to circle my arm back. You can read in some of the older, really some of the old text where the students ask the master, if I'm going to hit forward, why do I circle backward? And it's a nice idea, it's a nice open, and it's a nice stretch. It's also for balance. So what I'm going to do is when I go to take my step, at the moment my hand is out at the farthest point, that's when I'm going to take my step. As soon as that foot's down, I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to use my hand. I'm going to step forward. I'm going to use my hand and my arm. You'll see it. Right there, there's the vertical, there's the horizontal. As soon as that heel touches, I don't need it anymore. When I have 2 feet on the ground, it's not about balance anymore. As soon as that's on the ground, then this hand's going to come. So I can use my hand. Another thing I can do is I can use the ball. I can use the elbow from the ball. So if I was going to do, grasp the sparrow's tail, right now I've got my elbow and my foot. And I leave this up until my heel's down. Once my heel's down, I can leave the ball. So I'm going to use the ball or my elbow. If I want to take a longer step, I can put the ball back. Another thing I can use my elbow is like in the chamber position, like in parry and punch. So I can use my elbow. I just put my mind on my elbow, and then once my heel's down, I can start thinking about doing the rest of the posture. If I want to take a longer step, I just simply put my elbow farther back. So traditionally, your fist is on your hip, but if I wanted to take a longer step in that posture, I would put my elbow back farther so my fist would not be on my hip. My fist would be past my hip. Say, for instance, I'm going to step backward, like in Step Back to Chase the Monkey Away. If I'm going to step backward, I'm going to put my leg in the backward pan. I'm going to put a hand in the forward pan. So if I'm at fist under elbow, I'm going to leave this hand out until I take my step, because this hand is balancing this foot. You can see the crossbar. You can see the vertical bar and the horizontal bar. Once that toe is down, I don't need it anymore, and I can finish my posture. I got my hand in the front. I'm going to leave it in the front until this foot touches. I don't want to go at the same time, because now I'm going to put that's like putting 2 weights in the same pan. So I want to use that opposite feel. Just until my toe touches, now I don't need it. Going sideways, right? The most famous sideways one, cloud hands. Really simple. I got my head over my hips over my foot. If I want to put my foot over here, on this pan over here, I'm going to put my hand on that pan. So I'm going to go. And then when I want to pick this foot up, I'm going to put a weight in this pan. I'm going to pick it up. And so all I have to do is get the timing of cloud hand is to have the hand go opposite of the step. So I'm going to reach out, and then as soon as my toe touches, I'll do the turn. As soon as the toe touches, I'll do the turn. So now I've got sideways the hand and arm balancing the step. There are a lot of other ways to do it. But basically you want to look at a hand or an arm balancing out a step. When we get to the kicks, one thing Master Liang said, he said kicks are high steps and steps are low kicks because they have the same balance need. So again, in the kick, we're trying to establish that center line, that plumb line, and then if I'm going to kick, that's like putting a lot of weight out in the front. I got to put something way in the back. So, for instance, say the separate the foot. That's a pretty short kick as far as how far it's going to go away from my body, because that kick's not going to go very far. I'm just going to use my elbow. I'll face this way, you can see it. The kick's only going that far. I'm just going to use my elbow. The farther away the kick, the farther the backhand has to go. So the first two kicks, that rear arm is like a right angle, and that's usually because that first kick can be a lower kick. Well, you can do it higher, just put your hand a little farther back. When we do the kick upwards or the push kicks, you want to make sure that your rear arm goes pretty far back, because you're really challenging, but you're really putting a lot of weight in that pan in the front. So I'll stand at an angle you can see. So if I'm doing the kick upward, I'm going to have my foot be really far away from my center line. So because it's going to be far away, I'm going to put my hand really far away. I'm going to try to think like my rear hand going in that back pan and my kick going in the front pan. I'm just going to keep that chest hollow. It looks straight, but I'm not straight. That's straight. It's still got the chest hollow. So my timing is going to be when the kick goes out, the hand goes out. You know, I want to make sure that I don't go kick and then hand. Sometime for beginners, what I'll have them do is get the hands in position. That's kind of like you're on the tightrope with the big long pole there. Get the hands in position and then do the kick. So people having trouble with the kicks, you got your vertical, you get your horizontal, and now you can start to maneuver this kick without changing your balance. And then your goal is to have it all happen at the very end at the same time. Two things with the kicks, why people have trouble with the kicks. Most Taiji people, and I've met a lot of Taiji people, most Taiji people their legs are strong enough to do good kicks, and they're flexible enough to do good kicks. The problem is in the balance and the mechanics. So if you're having trouble with the kicks, here's two ways to troubleshoot it. Check the foot that you're standing on. Check the angle. Sometime if you don't open up a wide enough angle, if you try to kick and have the foot that you're standing on being in the same direction, again, your pelvis is like a triangle, like a rectangle, excuse me, and you'll fall off. So a lot of times, you got to get the angle of the foot correct so that you can get your vertical correct, and then you can get the horizontal. The other part is, you know, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So sometime to open up, people will go, and they can see this hand, and this one is doing a great job. But this one, it feels like it's gone really far back, but it hasn't. And they're all kind of crunched in, and you can see this posture's got a lot of weight that way. So the way to correct that is to make sure the hand goes back, nice and far. And again, you can always just do the hands and then do the kick after. Golden Rooster is one of those ones, the knee is not very far forward, so you can use your elbow. So as your knee's going up, your elbow's going back. If you want to put your knee really far, you just put your elbow really far back. You put your knee close, it's close. And you can see, I know now that you've got those mechanics, you can start to see the mechanics, what is good balance and not. Really a thing you can do now that everybody's got phones and cameras, you know, set up your camera or have somebody take a short clip of you doing the kick section or doing a section that has a lot of steps, and you'll start to see your vertical, horizontal, you'll start to see your balance, and you'll be able to troubleshoot your own balance problems or needs. Let me give you one more for the solo form. The sweep kick. So what happens is a lot of people fall on the sweep kick. Number one, look at the sweep kick. I've got two hands forward, and then I'm going to put my foot forward. I'm going to do the foot forward. That's a lot of weight in that one pan without much going in the back pan. One thing you can do is take that posture and think of it being sideways. So instead of thinking a pan in the front and there's nothing in the back, think of a pan on two sides of your nose. So when you start the kick, your hands and feet go opposite. And then as you're doing the kick, your hands and feet go opposite. And then come to the center. So you're balancing, instead of balancing forward, backward with that kick, balance left and right. Hands and feet go opposite, and then you're going to go opposite, opposite, opposite. I got a little clump here. One more time, so you'll see. Opposite, 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 opposite. Okay, here's some bonus balancing material. Once you understand that, you know, the plumb line or the vertical alignment, and you understand the two pans, you can apply this everywhere. Like in your sword form. There are places in the sword form where the sword will balance your steps. So from the chief star of the dipper to do swallow skims the water, I'm actually going to use the sword to balance the step. Cross and sweep, I'm going to use the sword to balance the step. You'll be able to see that. You'll be able to see the sword, and then once the foot's down, I don't need it. Sword, foot, sword, foot. So I hope you'll apply these. My next lesson will be on steps. So if you master this idea about the balance and the scale and the three treasures and all these good things, it's going to change how your steps feel, how your body moves. So I'll leave a link in the description because this one really, you know, this one and the steps like a cat really get to the heart of balance. And there's a book that's got all this Taiji studies and you know, going into balance and how Taiji prevents falls, and I'll leave the title in the description. But once you understand these mechanics, you can correct yourself. You can be able to see what's a good posture, what's a posture that needs improvement. Just like you look in your garage and you see the boxes aren't gonna stack up, and I wish you the best for this practice, and I will see you next time.